For coming, and also Z mentioned all the things you need, but definitely a block or some soft pillows today for some things we're going to do. Water, if like me with the allergies and getting out more, I'm like, so hopefully I won't start choking during class, but I do have water handy. So just to start, come to a comfortable place. You do not have to be lying down. You don't have to be sitting, but you do need to be still. So you want to kind of make that commitment to separate yourself. And it can be extra challenging when you're at home and there's something, a phone ringing or something calling to your attention, to make that commitment to separate yourself from what's going on. But let's see if we can all do that together. And to start, say, I have a super short reading from a book of super short readings called A Year of Living Your Yoga. And this little blurb is just so perfect, I think, for a home practice, a practice at home. So the little nugget that starts, it's not even a reading, it's a thought droplet. And Judith Lasseter's thought droplet is, being aware can become a habit. And she writes, right now, take a deep breath and settle into this very moment. Perfect. Well, a lot of times we draw our attention inward, and what she suggests is open your eyes and look around. However familiar the surroundings, find something new to look at or see a familiar thing in a new way. Cultivate this practice throughout the day or evening, whenever possible. So that's a little switch from our dive into ourself right away and shut out everything so we can really be attentive to our inner voice and our inner body. But if you haven't done so, you might just find something in your home, a picture or just some object or a kitty, but hopefully you wouldn't ignore your kitty, that you really ignored and haven't noticed for a while, and just notice that. And then just take another moment here for a breath or two. So after you notice and practice that activity as suggested, and then just take what you learned from that and draw that inside. And then when you're ready, if you're not lying down, come to lying down. I'll join you lying down at some point to demo things. But if I'm just asking you just to be on your mat, it just seems to make more sense for me to be sitting. So come to lying on your mat and get comfortable if you haven't already done so. And I'm going to call out a few things that you might want to look at to notice and assess something that's going on in your body. You might start with making some very small turns of your head, not the biggest turn you could do, but just kind of roll your head over a little bit to the right on your mat and then to the left. And you can do that 2 times and just notice if the turn of the head on one side is much more fluid than the other, or if there's a side where you could barely turn your head at all because your neck is very stiff. You've had a long, busy day. Bring your awareness to your upper back, the broadest part of your back, and notice how that connects with the mat. Notice if your shoulder blades are very obviously digging into the mat, or if you feel one shoulder blade a little more than the other. Travel down to your mid-back area, so the rib wall below the shoulder blades. Notice if that area is also very placid and down to the mat, or if it's lifted up. Just notice. Come to your low back curve. So there's going to be some lift, but you may want to notice just how curvy your low back curve is. Theoretically, it's starting at the very top rim of the pelvis, and it goes up to, but does not pass, ideally, the belly button. But a lot of times when we're moving and grouping throughout the day and we have a lot of imbalances, what happens is that low back curve starts to creep up and convinces the mid ribs to go along with it. And then your back does not feel very connected with the mat. If you can, straighten your legs out. I can't see what anyone's doing because no one has their cameras on, which is fine. But sometimes I might say things that don't pertain to you if you're not set up that way. So don't take it personally. And my cat, by the way, has now moved. So he's that lump in front of the screen. So if your legs are straight out on your mat, just notice if you feel any differences from the right to the left sides. Then Bend your knees, place your feet on the mat, and notice if you noticed before that your low back curve was almost so big that it was uncomfortable, that your back felt just so restless. Notice if just bending your knees and placing your feet on the mat calmed your low back just with that one little movement. Another thing just to keep in mind, as my cat gives himself a bath, I'm glad he's on television, on tape, because I think that would be, I don't know if that's proper to have videotape bathing. So take your feet wide now and just rest your inner knees together, just to know that this is a way you could take Shavasana, because the legs are very supported. So you situate your legs so they literally hold each other up, and you don't have to do a thing to make that happen. But then when you're ready, bring your legs back to parallel. I think I have to shift this guy a little bit. Sorry about that. He's very cute, but he's also blocking my screen. He doesn't usually sit over there. So we're going to magically move him to the side. So knees are bent and you're lying on the mat. Add support under your head if you like. Don't have support under your head if you don't need it. And take your arms down by your side. And just pause here. Notice how you feel. And then extend your right leg out on the mat. Just first let it just hang out there and then liven it up. Push through the heel, try and relax the toes. Try not to have them really curving up strongly toward you. I have to will my toes to relax, and notice the energy there. And then bend that knee and bring that foot back home. Extend your left leg. So now you have hanging out energy. Your left leg is just kind of maybe rolling outward to the side. And now shift the energy a little bit and make the leg more alert. So the center back of the heel on the floor, knee pointing up, toes reaching up, legs energized. You might notice that your hip feels different on the left side when you change the leg position. Notice that. And then bring that leg in. Now let's just explore your range of motion in your arms, so you know where, how far, or how close your arm should be in the next few movements. So take your right arm, and if you can, bring it up shoulder height. So since you're lying down, you're reaching it toward the ceiling. And if that's too high for you, feel free to bring the arm anywhere that you need to. Relax the arm into the shoulder joint. You can even tap it in a sense with your free hand, but energize the arm. So we want to feel again that connectedness of the upper back. We don't want to interfere with that, but lengthen your upper arm, lengthen your lower arm, reach through your fingertips. And then see, now that you've had it lengthening a little bit, if you could bring it back a little further. And you can keep moving little by little, exploring your range of motion without judgment. So you may get to the point where your thumb touches the floor behind you, but most typically your arm won't come into that far a reach, at least not on the first time. And you also make sure that there's nothing behind you that you're going to hit with your hand and get a rude surprise. Take your left arm down by your side, lift that one up halfway. You shoulder injury, a lot of times you can't lift your arm higher than your shoulder. So honor that, definitely. But see if you can relax the shoulder down so you're not reaching up. There's no space between the back of your shoulder and the floor. It's very connected. And you can even give your shoulder a little tap with your free hand just to say, oh, it's okay. It's been a long day. You can let it go. Reach up energetically through your upper arm and your lower arm and your fingertips. So the arm is not hanging out. It's energized, but not overworking. Good. Take the arm down to your side. We're going to stretch one leg and one arm. Move at your own pace. Just remember, we're moving whatever leg you're moving the opposite arm. We're going to start right leg, left arm. So extend the right leg out, flex the ankle, leg releases to gravity. Take the left arm up or out, whatever you can, to just take that arm away from the right foot. So you might be here again, or you might be all the way up. And take a breath here. Breathe from fingertips to the sole of your foot. And as you exhale, let your belly gently sink in a little bit. As you pull, kind of lengthen from end to end. Sometimes that helps you engage the core a little bit more efficiently. And then switch. Bring your right foot down, left arm down. Get the left leg out first and the right arm. As you do a few, you'll get a sense of where your arm's going to go. Make sure you feel that the stretch is yummy. It's not too much, not too little. a little energy in both of your limbs, and we're also lengthening in our torso. This is nice for the back too. And we'll do a few more together. Again, go at your pace. Inhale, right arm, left leg. Exhale, bring them back. Inhale, left leg, right arm. And exhale, bring them back. One more like that, one breath, one movement. Inhale the limbs away from the midline, away from the middle of your body. And exhale, bring it back. And last one, right arm, left leg. And exhale, bring it back. Pause, take your feet wide, rest your knees together. Take one breath there. And then bring your feet back to parallel. And we'll do these stretches one more time, but this time we'll insert a little extra breath in between so we can maybe notice something a little bit more. Inhale, right leg, left arm. Exhale there. Inhale there. And exhale, draw your belly in and bring the limbs in. Inhale, right arm long, left leg long. Exhale there. Inhale, breathe into the length from hip to armpit, and then come back to the start position. One more time. Inhale, right leg, left arm. Exhale there. Inhale there. And exhale, bring the limbs back home. Last one. Left leg, right arm. Inhale them away from your torso. Exhale there. Inhale there. And exhale, back to home you go. Excellent. So now get a hold of either a foam yoga block. I apologize, my microphone seems to keep it escaping. So get a hold of a foam yoga block. And if you don't have a foam yoga block, you could use, this is kind of fancy, but you can use a small pillow. It does, and make sure it's nothing heavy like a hardcover book, because we're going to do some bridge variations. And with these bridge variations, we're going to use this tool, whatever tool you got, to just keep our legs behaving, to keep our legs in line. So let your feet rest lightly on your mat. Take the prop in between soft tissue of your legs in a comfortable way, and just gently hug your prop with your legs. So we keep that little activity going, and see if you can get a sense that your knees and your ankles are lined up. Take your arms down by your side with the palms down. Center back of your skull is also down. Now from here, roll the entire length of your arm out. So now the palm is facing up. So you might feel much broader in your upper back. You also might feel the shoulder blades came toward each other. That's okay. But as you shift your shoulder blades a little bit, if they pinch together, we don't want that. We want the back to be broad. So once you make that spin of the arms, you might just want to splay your shoulder blades a little bit so you have the best of both worlds. The opening in the front of the chest that arm rotation assisted in creating, and the opening of the upper back. Then from your elbow creases to your hands, turn that back down. Find your anchor points, the back of your skull, upper back, maybe your mid back, parts of your arms, your hands, your feet, your bum. That's going to change. And then when you inhale, come into your first bridge. Energize your feet down, energize your legs up, and let the legs lift your hips up, and let the hips take your low back, and maybe some of your mid back will come up as well. And as you exhale, place your spine, your hips back down. Adjust the prop if it's not in the right place. Sometimes it's just digging into a place, pardon me, that is sensitive. So do two more like that, inhaling and exhaling. On your next inhale, when you lift up, also engage your bum, but not necessarily, you don't want to squeeze your whole butt and make it a huge activity. You want a little soft hugging of the bun, particularly the buns, the lowest part of your glutes. And that could give you a lot of support. It might even help you feel that you're lifting up a little higher and opening up the fronts of your hips a little bit more. And then when you exhale, lower on down. And just pause here. Now we're going to add a movement that I don't do a lot in this class, but we're going to lift up into bridge and see how it feels to take one arm at a time. Keep in mind that when we lift one arm up, With the hips, sometimes it causes a little destabilization. The core has to work more to keep the hips lifted, with the arms doing two different things. And remember to honor any injuries you might have in your shoulder, because this would really be irritating if it isn't right for you. So you could always just keep bridging as you've been doing. If you'd like to give this a try, as you inhale, press your feet down, lift your hips up, and then take your right arm up. And ideally, it can come down, back of the hand to the floor, or you could turn your hand so the thumb comes to the floor. And notice, I'm going to see if I can show this. I'm sagging my right hip down. I don't know if that's visible on the screen, but now I'm working to keep my hips more even. And then when you lower down, start bringing your arm down first. So the arm and the hips arrive down at the mat roughly at the same time. And let the weight of your body soften a little bit before you do the second side. And keep the breath flowing. Inhale into bridge. If it feels okay, take your left arm with you. You can also take a blanket behind you and reach your arm and set it to the floor to a blanket, even off your hips. Notice if the side where the arm is not by your side is dropping down a little bit, because it has more support. Exhale and bring that arm down. Let's try that one more time. Inhale, lift up into bridge. Relax your jaw, take the right arm with you, press into your feet. Exhale, lower down, sinking if you can, arm and hips. Last time, inhale, lift up, use the strength of your lower butts, your lower butt, the backs of your thighs, and exhale and lower down. Excellent. Now your legs will probably working a lot if you are hugging a prop. So take that prop out of the way, bring the inner edges of your feet together, and just let your knees come out to the side a little bit and just keep them moving. So we're not just going to let them drop down. Not that that's bad. Maybe we'll do something like that later, but just kind of open and close them like a butterfly, just to counteract some of the inner thigh squeezing we were doing to lift up into bridge. And then bring your feet down once more. Good. Take your arms by your side. Notice how you feel specifically. We didn't really do a whole lot of movements. We did just a few stretching, but notice your back. And if it meets the mat differently than it did when you started practice, notice your upper back and your mid back and your low back. You might find that your mid back region is more connected to the earth, and your low back curve, while it's there, we really want our low back curve to there, but you might find the low back curve is a little quieter, and your low back is definitely curved like it should be, but it's a little calmer. When you're ready, you're going to ease over to one side. Hopefully I'll keep my earpiece in. When you come over to your side, use your top arm to initiate the lift until you can get the bottom arm lifted, and then come all the way up to sitting. Sit in any comfortable position, cross-legged if that works for you, another leg position if cross-legged doesn't work, and make sure you're sitting nice and tall with a nice long spine. If you're not sitting tall, it can really help to have blankets or towels underneath you. That helps our spine to be in line. We want kind of the back of the skull, where our skull curves backward. You can bring your hand back there and just kind of give yourself a little pat for the evening. Oh, there's the back of my skull. We want the back of the curve of the skull and the back curve of the upper back and the back curve of our hips to be in line. Take your arms out in an A-frame and just for a moment, reach energetically through your arms. It should not feel, you might feel a little bit of a buzzy, nice tingling as you lengthen the arms and lengthen out the underlying connective tissue, but it feels numbing tingling that we don't want. Take another breath here, sitting bones down. Now to prepare for a twist, take your right arm diagonally behind you, but not so far back that you lean back like woe is me. You want to keep that spine long. Take your left arm up by your ear. Inhale, and as you exhale, revolve just the upper part of your spine in the collarbone area in the upper back. And try this instead of just automatically reaching for your opposite leg, reaching. Think about just bringing it down just wherever it lands. The reason I like doing this, I've been doing a lot of my twists this way, is because it gives a little more spaciousness in the chest. But wherever your arms are, as long as they're supporting your twist, that's fine. Now you're twisting to the right, so your left leg may have tensed up. Both legs may have tensed up. Soften your legs down. Make sure your sitting bones are down. Make sure the turn of your head is very easy and you're not trying to turn your head more, thinking that gives you a bigger twist. Bring your awareness to your upper back and breathe into your upper back. See if you can get a sense of expansion from within, lungs expanding back toward the ribs, ribs expanding back toward the inner skin expanding toward the outer skin. Take one more breath in your upper back. And then bring your awareness to your chest. Now, if you have a little more open arm position, when your arms on the opposite leg, a lot of times could even be uncomfortably compressing the chest. But wherever your arms are, bring your awareness into the upper part of your chest and take a breath there in a similar way. Notice if you could feel the expansion from within and pressing out very, very subtly, layer by layer. And exhale and let that go. And take one more breath here in the front of your chest. And then when you're ready, inhale, lift your arms up, unwind your twist, bring your arms out in that A-frame again. Before you do the second side, if you were cross-legged, you may want to cross your legs, the other leg on top, or you may just want to choose a different seat altogether. Take the left arm diagonally behind you, nice and close to keep your spine nice and long. Take your right arm up toward the ear, energize both arms. Inhale, and as you exhale, small twist of your upper spine, your back and your collarbones. And then your arm might automatically come to the opposite leg, which is fine. Or maybe you just want to let it kind of just drop down in front of you. It might end up on the same side leg. And then when you're here, again, explore the breath. Bring your awareness to your upper back. And without force, breathe into your upper back. Feel the expansion from the inside out. And then breathe into your upper back again. And then similarly, take 2 breaths in the front of your chest. And you might notice if you have your arm not crisscross, but kind of just in front of you or even on the same side leg, although we don't want that to pull us out of the twist. The twist should be the twist we got into, but just notice that your arm position might change the way you experience the opening in the front of your chest during a twist. Make sure both legs are relaxed. And then when you're ready, drop your sitting bones down like anchors and lift your arms up. Unwind, reach your arms out long, 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 and unwind those legs and paddle them out a little bit. Bend your knees and make your way up to hands and knees. If you need padding under your knees, get that underneath you. Then, after you've come onto your mat, see if you can remember the snapshot in your mind you took of how your back met the mat when the back was underneath you. So how you felt the back, right? Maybe the mid back, the upper back, or just the upper back. You felt the back of the head and the hips. Now imagine that same mat had followed you around, because it's like it's haunting you, and your mat was on top of you. So, and notice if those areas similarly will touch the mat above you. And the point of this little exercise is to notice and attend to where your positions are. Because let's say you're in all fours and your head is dropping down. So now the back of my hips and the back of my upper back are touching the mat, but the back of my head isn't. So that's a good reminder. Find the back, the mat, the invisible mat behind you, and snuggle your back body there. And then stretch out the legs a little bit, keeping the core a little bit firm so that we don't collapse the core and take too much of our low back away from our floating mat above us. And we want to keep our neck nice and long. Tuck the toes of the right leg under, stretch the right leg back nice and long. Keep the thigh lifted up, so try not to let it sag down if you can, and just lengthen here. And then switch sides, tuck the toes of your left foot under and drag that leg back, keeping the toes tucked. If your arms get tired, take a break. Come to sitting for a moment. Good. Now come back to the right leg again. Extend your right leg out, tuck your toes, find your balance here. And then if you like, reach the left arm. So it's kind of similar to the diagonal stretches we did in the beginning of the mat. But notice here, the body might shift a lot, rock. So try and keep your body as steady as you can and keep your breath flowing. And then bring down the left hand and the right leg. And then left knee stays down. And then we extend the left leg. And then we extend the right arm. Take a breath here. Trying to keep your body even. Trying to keep, subtle movements are fine. But try and keep it even and still. Keep the back of the neck long. Don't sag your head down. And then exhale. Bring that down. Good. Now, yogi's choice. You can do that again. Or if you'd like to stretch out into one down dog this evening, you might want a little more distance between your wrist and your feet. Tuck your toes under, push through the heels. Inhale, take a small back bend, lengthening from crown to tail. And as you exhale, lift up and back. Invite the heels to soften down. Reach the arms long. Relax your head. Relax your head and kind of wrap your outer arms. I'm kind of showing you my outer arms. Wrap your outer arms a little in toward each other and see if you can feel a little more support from your arms and your upper back. Line up your head, the back of your head with the back of your spine. I know my head is disappearing here, but that's technically where it should be, because if I was like this, looking at you guys, which I like to do, it wouldn't be in the right place. Gently place your knees down. Roll your wrists around a little bit. Sorry about that loss of sound. And then stretch back into tabletop position. Let's just do a few cat-cows. As you inhale, lengthen into your cow. And you can either choose to do a very traditional cat, which my cat who's still here would appreciate. Oh, no, I offended him. He's running out of the room now. Wow, he literally moved at that point. You can come into the cat pose, bringing your forehead toward your pubic bone, and then inhaling back and exhaling into the traditional cat, who's obviously, again, offended by my implying that I could be a cat when I am a mere human. Or if you like another variation, if you have upper back, if you have osteoporosis in your upper back, or if your upper back is just, you feel, and a doctor maybe has told you that it's a little more rounded than you would like it to be, instead of taking that cat, you would do this cat variation. You would shift your hips back to your heels and come up high on your fingertips. And so you're getting less of a curve in the back, but you're getting a nice length in the spine from your armpits to your hips. I'll show you that one. Again, you can also do this with your hands elevated on blocks. Inhale here and exhale, come back, and only come back as far as it feels good. So as the bum comes closer to the heels, that could put a lot of pressure on your knees. So that might not work. And then the next time you come back, or the next time you're ready to do a cat pose, transition into child's pose. And take the knees wide, bring the big toes to touch. If your hips are very high in the air, my cat left, I'm gonna steal his perch. You can take some towels or blankets and tuck them underneath you. And you can have a pillow in front of you, especially doing this pose, doing a supported forward bend before bedtime in the evening can be really nice, regardless of, you could do it anytime. So let's do that now. I'm just using a block, but you might want to have another pillow or a bolster here. And take a few moments in child's pose. If you'd rather not use any props, you don't have to. Stay where you are if you're happy in child's. In child's pose, we're really opening the expanse of our back. So bring your awareness to your upper back and just notice, do you feel you have the same freedom in your upper back that you had in the seated twist that we did? Or in child's pose, can you feel even more? Because when we're lying facing downward, we might really feel the widening and the flaring of the upper back with the breath. Take one more breath in child's pose. And then when you're ready, slowly lift up. And after you've been in child's pose for even just a few breaths, you might feel the need to stretch out your legs again. So you can stretch your legs out one at a time. Feel free to come to downward facing dog. I'm not going to do that because I'll lose my microphone again. And you can do each leg once or twice. And then from here, we're going to set up, do a very brief supported back bend, which can also be very nice at any time, but particularly in the evening. So I'm going to use yoga blankets here. Usually I use towels, but I was letting my cat play with those. So I'm going to use blankets instead, but just know that you can use any kind of blanket. Like if you have the kind of blanket that you throw over a couch, that works too. So if you can get a blanket to where it would look, how it would look if any of you have ever been to a yoga studio. Sometimes I call this the studio shape. So you have this big rectangle. And then you're going to take that big rectangle and fold it in half and have a long, narrow rectangle. You're going to place that down on the mat lengthwise. Decide where your head's going to be. Let's say your head's going to be here. Take blanket or towel, number 2, and you start with that big rectangle, fold it in half, excuse me, short edge to short edge, and the two together make a big giant letter T. So what's going to happen is your bum's going to go here. Your head's going to go either here on the first blanket, depending on your height, or it may come there. Have another blanket or pillow handy because everyone has a different sense of what's comfortable when they're lying down in this pose. Some people want more height under the head. Now, if you happen to have a bolster, I don't have one handy, but if you have a bolster or another bunch of pillows, what you might want to do is tuck them under your legs. So you sit in front of your blanket. You can tuck a bunch of blankets under another blanket under your leg. I'm just going to keep my knees bent. And then you ease yourself down, supporting your spine as you go. And then when you get there, you might need to shift a little bit. Make sure that your low back curve is supported by that little edge of the blanket. So the low back curve or the sacrum are just spilling off. And then if you don't have a prop, you can bend your knees, rest your knees together like we did in the beginning of class. And then if you want more height under your head, I'll just show you that I'm really short, so my head doesn't even come onto this blanket. But let's say, I just like to have my head a little higher. That feels better for me. You can do that. Take your arms out to the side, turn your palms up, and just invite the weight of your spine to sink down toward the floor. So the prop, the blanket or the vertical blanket or towel is going to be narrower than the widest part of your back. So you'll notice that the shoulders kind of spill over the edges, or they're invited to spill over the edges. And this creates further opening in the chest. This pose is almost like a restorative version of Cobra in that it kind of creates opening in a similar way, ultimately, except in Cobra, we're on our bellies, if you're familiar with that, right? You have your hands down, you're lifting a belly away from the floor, and you're lengthening and opening the chest, but you're working. So here, we're getting a similar back benefit, but we're not actively creating the shape of the pose with our muscles. So see what you can receive here. Surrendering the back to gravity. The upper back, right and left sides. Beyond the back to the shoulders, right and left sides. Surrender those and notice if you feel them rolling down to the floor. If you have shoulder injury, and even this small opening, if it's actually irritating you to have your shoulders low, just grab another blanket or prop. Yoga block is not the most comfortable thing, but you can take that under your shoulder if you have an injured shoulder that needs to be higher. But a block is really too much here. Usually you would use a blanket or a towel. Relax your bottom, relax your belly, relax your head. You might notice with your head on, even just one towel or blanket, whatever your head is on, it kind of, if you're really relaxed, the back of your skull kind of creates a little well. It creates a customized well in the prop. Relax your legs and feet. If you do loop your legs over a bolster, sometimes then it's harder to keep the feet relaxed because your feet are like dancing, da, 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 da. But when they're down like this, they can't dance. So make sure your toes, they can dance another time, but give yourself a few more minutes here in this nice restorative back bend. Easy inhale, smooth exhale. I'm going to invite you to stay in the pose for another, maybe a minute, but just know that if you need to come out sooner because your back's like, okay, I've had enough, your exit strategy is to ease over to your side. If your body tenses up a little, even in a restorative pose, just notice it and just invite your body to re-soften itself. Notice your breath as it rolls in and out. Where do you expand and where do you condense? Can you feel your body widening as you breathe, and where does it widen? Can you feel your body lengthening as you breathe, and where does it lengthen? Can you feel your body soften while you breathe, and where does it soften? Preparing to release from the back bend now. When you're ready, bend your knees and place your feet fully on the floor and gently ease your way over to your most comfortable side and pause there. And ideally, you want to come off the blanket that was underneath you. But if you're still on it and it's comfortable, that's okay too. But the nice thing is you probably have a finite number of blankets and towels handy. I usually have a lot more, but I was doing laundry today. So you can bring a prop in between the lower legs. So cushioning between the inner knees and cushioning between the ankles can feel very nice. And you could rest here. Again, we're going to move along because we're having a class, but you might find that this is a great pose to do, a sideline rest pose. Just make sure you have enough padding under your head so that bottom shoulder feels really comfortable if you're going to stay in it for more than like a minute. And this could be a great thing to do during the day. If you are fortunate enough to have time at home during the day, just to do like a little quickie restorative pose, even for a few minutes, can actually help you to feel really refreshed and really make your day even sweeter. Now from here, we're going to proceed to do a twist. We did a seated twist in the beginning of class, and now we're going to do a twist lying on the back. So if you want to have a prop under your head, you can keep that, but you're going to roll back onto your back with no prop underneath your back. And then when you get there, I'm going to sit upright for a few moments here, but when you get there, back to lying on your back, first check in upper back, middle back, and low back. How do they meet the mat? How do they present themselves to the mat now versus at other points in the practice? Again, if you took a snapshot in the beginning of class, notice if you feel a little more connected. From here, we're going to take that twist, and I'll do that with you. So take your feet wide as the outer edges of your mat, if you like, or wider if your floor is comfortable. And just start tipping your knees back and forth. I am reluctant to say windshield wipers because we've had way too much windshield wiper time lately, but just really casual. And also this gives you a chance to see when you take your legs to one side, if you feel resistance, that you know when you come into the twist, you might not take your legs quite so far. Maybe you're going to have to just kind of suspend your legs a little bit midair. The next time your legs come over to your right side, let the legs surrender to gravity completely. You might be comfortable with your legs in space, but you may want to grab a handy prop, like one of your blankets, and place it underneath the outer thigh of your lower leg and underneath the inner thigh of your upper leg. Take your arms out comfortably and turn your head away from your bent knee side and just relax your feet. Sometimes we come in this position, we bunch up our feet, and just make sure your feet are relaxed. Take a few breaths here. If you like, bring your awareness to the sides of your rib cage. Without force, just invite your next inhale to be a little longer. Maybe just slow it down, sip the breath in, and you might get a sense of expanding laterally across the width of your ribs. And then let that breath go. And then bring your awareness, if you like, up further, very top side ribs, even into the armpits. You may want to reposition your arms a little bit to get as much freedom in your side body as you can. And take a long, slow breath here. Just really relishing any sense of expansion that you feel. And know this, all this wonderful expanding that we've noticed and all these breath movements that we've noticed going on all day long. But sometimes we're so tense, we don't really take complete breath. So we don't really get all these nice, luscious sensations of our body moving and breathing. On your next inhale, breathe your knees back to center, rolling over your feet, and bring your nose back to center and pause, and then take the second side. Take your knees over toward your left side. And then if you like, you can add padding underneath one or both legs to make it more comfortable, and turn your head away from your bent knees. Bring your awareness this time, if you like, to the front of your body and the back of your body. And as you take a long, slow breath, breathe into the top and the bottom, expanding the chest, lifting up toward the ceiling, up toward the sky, and the back of you softening down to the floor and to the earth. It's not going to have as much freedom to move in the back as in the front because we are lying on our back. Exhaling, bringing both front and back toward the midline. If you like, do that again. Noticing the expansions and the shifts in the top part of your chest and belly and in the corresponding back body as you inhale and as you exhale. Head turned away from your bent knees. When you're ready to move again, pick up your knees and roll your feet back to the floor. Shift your hips back to the center. Now from here, we're going to shift right away into Shavasana. At least you are. So you might want to take a moment just to make sure you have all the props that you'd like to have. So if you think, well, I've been lying down here and I don't really have enough support for my head, you can go get another tool that you could use. If your whatever props you brought with you got a little messy because you were moving them in and out and using them in different ways, you may want to just kind of reset them up so you have something or some things underneath your head, and you might want to have something left over to cover yourself with. Let yourself get as cozy and toasty as you can. And close your eyes and invite your body just to surrender and go limp. Along with the rain we've been experiencing, we've had a little chilliness and not too many glimpses of the sun. So as you just come into Shavasana, you also might want to take a little bit of sunshine with you. Imagine as you settle into stillness that there is warmth, gentle warmth, touching the tops of your shoulders, the front of your chest, and maybe even your back. Imagine that warmth slide around you like a cape of yumminess. Relaxing your upper back and your chest and your shoulders. Imagine warmth gently touching your face, the sides of your face, with the eyes closed, a little warmth bathing the tops of your eyelids, bathing the top of your forehead. Invite that warmth to also touch your scalp all the way around underneath you to the back of your head. Invite your imaginary sunshiny warmth to travel down the length of your legs to your fingertips, cascading over the front of your body, down to your belly and hips, and cascading over the back of your body, down to the back waist, and then the warmth making its way to your legs, rolling down the fronts of your legs, sliding down the backs of your legs, warming your knees, your knee joints, and warming all the way down to your ankles. And then invite your imaginary indoor sunshine to warm your feet a little bit. Imagine your feet just wrapped in warmth. Maybe they are, maybe you have a wrap over you, but invite that warmth just to envelop your feet. Warm, nourishing sensation on the tops of your feet, on the undersides of your feet, on your toes. Give yourself the gift of a few more moments of stillness and ease. So important to take these moments of calmness and quiet. Again, you can do a practice like this as you come into the evening, but you can also take a mini Shavasana during the day every now and then. Close your eyes and surrender to a few more moments of stillness. If any distractions arise or any sounds, anything wants to catch your attention now, attention was for other points in the class. Now we want to really not pay attention to anything but stillness. So if sounds arise or phones ring, just know that that are just wonderful signs of life all around you, and continue coming back to your little private place, tucked in, surrounded by warmth, surrendering and letting go after moving your body in healthful ways in your practice. Notice how your body may be seeping more and more into stillness. And we thought about the idea of the weight of our head sinking down and creating a customized well in our pillows or our blankets. Notice if your head is now just a little more calmer. Your whole skull is snuggled down a little bit more. Let your breath roll in and out with ease, with no changes, No observations, just being, just stillness. Know that you can continue to stay in Shavasana beyond our time together. But if you'd like to start your pathway to emerge back into the yoga community and onto the rest of your evening, bring your awareness back to your breath. You don't need to change your breath, just follow it along. You may want to make slightly longer inhales and longer exhales, but not by force. Just kind of drinking in with your breath, your surroundings. And then, still lying on your mat, when you're ready, bend your knees one at a time and draw your legs into your chest one at a time. And if you hold on to your legs, make sure you're not pressing on your knees. You can hold on to your legs behind your thighs or on your shins, and make sure in holding on to your legs, you're not lifting up or tensing your shoulders. My cat came back in, so I'm making sure I don't kick him as I or poke him as I take my knees from side to side. You can do the side to side motion, nice and slow, no flinging your hips from side to side, or you can keep your legs in center, keep your hips calm, and just kind of stir the bowl of your hips by circling your knees in one direction. This also helps to give a light little massage on the sacrum. Make sure that's comfortable. If you do the circling of the knees, if you're very sensitive there, this wouldn't be your go-to movement. If you like, stretch your legs up and wiggle your toes in the air, or circle your ankles in the air. And then when you're ready, once more, bend your knees, land your feet on the mat, and ease your way over to your side. Rest on your side until you're ready to sit up. When you're ready to sit up, and maybe you're not, maybe you're going to spend the closing of your practice lying on your side, that's perfectly fine. Initiate the lift with your top hand, and then kind of turn so your belly button is almost looking to the floor, and then start lifting up from the top hand, and then add the bottom hand until you're all the way up. If you're coming to sitting, you will know that Albus came back into the room. He was so disgusted by my my cat-cow demonstration. He thought I should do that, but he had to come back in, meow at me. If you'd like, join your hands together at the heart center. Yeah, you too. Join your paws, bow your head, and use this moment to give yourself an additional moment of stillness and peace. A virtual pat on the back for carving out time in your day to do a practice either live with us this evening or on your own. Honor your heart for its goodness. And may the goodness that you offer others and offer to the world around you come back to you tenfold, 100-fold, manyfold. Namaste. Thank you so much.